You're listening to Season 3, Episode 2 of the Indie Film Tribe podcast with me, your host, Angela Matamocha. Welcome. Hi there, good people. Hi. Angela Matamocha here of Indie Film Tribe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know in our last episode, we spoke with a producer, actor, writer about how she created a feature film for, I believe it was less than $5,000. Today, I have on a writer-director who made a feature film for $10,000. It was under $10,000. And I'm really excited about introducing him. One, because this is the first time that I'm actually interviewing someone that's not from New York or Los Angeles. Our guest today is actually from Louisiana. So we'll hear a little bit about that. And this is a writer-director of the feature film entitled The God Inside My Ear. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you JoeBadon. Joe, welcome.
Hello. Hey, thank you for having me. This is great. I'm honored.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for reaching out. It's anyone listening knows I just love speaking with filmmakers. I'm always so interested in people's processes. And one of the things that occurred to me about you is the fact that you're not in Los Angeles or
Right.
New York. And I think that could be very interesting for other filmmakers that are out there that are not in these massive film meccas and still
Right.
creating feature films. So right out the
Right.
gate, I want to ask you, being in Louisiana or where, just outside New Orleans, you said?
Just outside New Orleans. That's right.
Is there a film community there?
There is, um, for about 10 years, Hollywood really kind of streamed into Louisiana, especially around New Orleans. And four about 4 or 5 years ago, they kind of left, and they because Louisiana was giving them tax credits, and then they stopped giving them tax credits, and they all moved to Atlanta. So Atlanta is a big hotbed right now, but before that, New Orleans was, and so we were kind of even called Hollywood South for a little while, and so during that time, I did storyboards, and I did storyboards for some features and a lot of commercial work and things like that. Biggest project I worked on was a movie called Keanu. Do you know Key and Peele? That
Oh,
comedy.
yes, I know Key and Peele.
They,
Yes, their
they
work.
did a little they did a little movie called Keanu about a cat. Anyway, so that was probably the biggest project I worked on. And then, like, literally right after that, everything folded, and they and Hollywood left. Which is fine. But because of that, there was a vacuum that was filled with lots of little independent companies and lots of filmmakers that didn't want to leave their hometowns but still wanted to make films. And so, yeah, there was fairly thriving film community. But the more I talk to people all around the country, there are thriving little bitty independent film communities all over the country. Just people that are passionate that want to make films. And so, I literally got on Facebook and said, I wrote a script. I want to make a film, and found the cinematographer, found actors, found the PA, found the AD, everybody through just social networking and just friends. And it's as simple as that.
That's
you know.
amazing. That's amazing. Let me just pause you here because I think
Yeah.
many people living in different communities, all across the country and the world, quite frankly, one of the questions I always get is like, how do you find your crew? How do you find people to make a film with? So I love the fact that you just said you went on Facebook and you said, I
Yeah.
have a script. I want to make a movie.
Right. Well, what was really even funnier was that I was going to buy all the equipment myself and just film it myself and pretty much be almost a one-man show. And one of the very first people that I gave the script to was just a friend of mine who was going to do a small role in the film. And he said, "Listen, I love the script, but you're not going to get people to take you seriously if you're filming." Because I was going to do the whole tangerine thing where I filmed on an iPhone and did the whole thing. Said, "I really don't think you'll get enough people to take you seriously." And so then I just got on Facebook and I said, well, is there any crew members out there? And my cinematographer, Daniel Waghorn, just contacted me through that and said, hey, I'm a cinematographer. I've mainly done weddings and documentary stuff. I really want to do a feature film. So he read the script, he loved it, and then, the rest is history there.
All right,
So,
all right. So now I want to back up a bit. Let's start with the script. So,
yeah.
is this a script that you'd been working on for years? Is this something that you just kind of hashed out real quick? How was this developed?
So I had like a little nugget of an idea, and I have plenty of little story ideas. Anybody that's a writer, creative, you'll get an idea, you'll write it down, you'll just put it on the shelf. So I had a little bit of a story idea. It was more like almost a little short story. And then there's a movie sets studio in Slidell. That's where I live, right outside New Orleans. And it's just a place it's a prop house, but they have little bitty sets set up like a sci-fi control room, and they have a hospital set up, and they have like
Awesome.
a psychic tent set up and all these things.
Wow.
And so I kind of took a tour of that, and I took a mental note of all the different locations inside that place, and then I wrote a script around that. So because I knew that I could get the place for pretty cheap, and so I used all those weird little locations inside my story, and I wrote the story with a lot of dream logic. So almost anything could happen. So I wrote it very surrealistically, so that the character could be inside of a sci-fi control room, but then could be inside of her normal house, then could be inside of a psychic tent, and all these things would make sense because it's almost like a dream that she's living through.
Okay, there's something that you touched on here that I think is so vital when people are trying to create a feature film.
Right. Oh, I can't hear you.
Okay, now you can, right?
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
great. There's something so vital that you just said about making a feature film. Low budget, no budget. However, I love the fact that you knew you had these locations available.
Right.
You knew you can access them for a minimal fee, it sounds like.
Right.
Then you went and wrote a script around these locations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, especially because in some ways, I feel like I'm not creative enough to do what a lot of filmmakers do, and what they do is they take one location and they write a film around one location. And I feel like there's got to be a better way than that, because so many micro budget films will do that philosophy, because
Yeah.
you kind of read. Whenever I started reading about, okay, I'm going to make a micro budget film, you read, okay, one location, just a couple actors, and I'm like, I don't think I can stretch out to 70, 80 minutes with one location, a couple actors. I'm going to bore the audience to death, you know? And so that's why you see a lot of micro budget films where everything's really slow and they're trying to stretch. Everybody's trying to pad that time out. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be interesting, interesting to look at. And, I wanted to have a lot of, there's a word for it. My brain's not working,
That's all
but
right.
just, but just as much on screen,
It's very
present.
visual, just from what I
Yeah,
saw and I loved in the trailer. It's visually beautiful and stunning to look at. The
yeah.
production value
Thank
does not look like a micro budget film.
Well, what was great about our cinematographer is he had a Sony FS7. It was a 4K camera, and he shoots things like gorgeously. So we were able to take things that like this one character in the movie, it was like a fantasy character, and everything kind of made out of cardboard and like very low budget, probably like $30 for the outfit. But his cinematography, it made it look like $1,000, and so cinematography makes such a big difference, especially I think you can tell on, like, if you've seen the new Hobbit movies, the 60 frame per second version of those movies, the ones that they're trying to do 60 frames per second, everything looks like it's dime store outfits, because it's too clean. But like if they do the 24 frames per second with that buttery cinematography,
Yep.
it hides all that and it makes it look like, wow, this is amazing looking. So cinematography makes a huge difference
Okay,
for
okay. So,
your production value.
yes, I just want to pause here because I feel like there's a couple of lessons. I'm never quite sure exactly how these interviews are going to go,
Sure.
but from what it sounds like, the number one point I think that so far you've mentioned in making a micro budget feature film is know what locations you have access to and write a
Yes.
script around that. The
Yes.
number two sounds like production value, cinematography.
Absolutely. You know, and so many times what I've read so many times is people are like sound. Sound has to be great, which I agree
Yes, yes, it
completely.
does.
But I got to tell you, most of the times if I watch a trailer, like I'm watching it on my phone,
Yep.
usually the sound's low anyway because I'm just trying to like check it out for a second. And if it looks like crap, I turn it off instantly. Like the visuals to me are far more important. And of course you have to have good sound. I think that's just like obvious.
Obvious, yeah.
But yeah, obvious. But you can get away with good sound on the cheap. Like, but cinematography, you have to invest a little more.
It's a
And
visual medium. It's
yeah,
a visual
exactly.
medium.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's very important for people to take you seriously, you know.
All right, so let's get a sort of a timeline here. So you
Sure.
had this nugget of an idea for
Yep.
your script. You had a nugget of an idea, then you saw these locations that you knew you would have access to. So
Right.
from this nugget, you then created an entire feature script
Right.
based on these locations.
Yeah,
Got on
and it took about
Facebook.
sure, go ahead, sorry.
I'm just timeline here. Got on Facebook, put it out there. You're wanting to shoot a film, and this is how you found your cinematographer. What was your
Right.
next step?
Next step was okay, so my cinematographer basically took care of getting sound together, getting lighting, all that stuff. So he got the crew together. And my next step was casting.
Aha.
And so I just posted on Facebook once again all the different film groups because every community has film groups on Facebook. You know, on film groups on Facebook, I said, you know, look, I'm looking for actors. And then also, for my job, is I sell my art out at art markets in New Orleans. And so I just have a big community out there of friends that are all artists, but all those guys are also actors, they're also musicians, they're just creative people. So I literally went down the booths at this art market and I said, "Do you know any actors? Do you know any actors? Do you know any actors?"
Wow.
And so some of the guys that worked there were actors, like the psychiatrist in the movie worked at the art market. There's the psychic in the movie worked at the art market. Quite a few people. The neighbor in the movie worked at the art market. Neighbor character. Quite a few people in the movie worked at the art market with me, and literally just were like, "Hey, I'm an actor. Here's my reel," and I got to see what they were doing. And some of the people, literally, I just saw their reel and I hired them. I was like, you know, this works because I knew it would work. And fortunately, I was lucky that they were amazing. But I knew my main actress had to be perfect. Like everybody else could be okay, but I wrote it to where the one main character was pretty much in every scene. Everybody else only had to be there for like a day or two of shooting,
Aha.
but she had to be there every day. So I knew that she, number one, had to be committed, but number two, had to carry the entire film because everyone else just kind of comes in and out of the film.
Was
But she has to.
casting her hard?
I probably went through 5 or 6 actresses till I found her, and basically what I did was to keep costs down and time down. I had people just send me video auditions, and that's how I cast everyone. Um,
Perfect.
and so finally, when she read for it, I knew I would know who it was when I saw it.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I do
And
exactly
so
know.
when
Yep.
when I saw her audition, it was like, oh, this is her.
This is her. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love. Don't you love
this
that moment?
absolutely, totally. Everybody else was great, but but like, of course, I could have spent months trying to find perfect people for every, every slot. But
Did
I needed to get this done, So the main character was the one that needed to carry the story, so I got her, and it was perfect.
How many days was the shoot, and did you shoot it all together, or did you just do like weekends? Like, what did that look like?
We did 2 to 3 days a week, and we did. It was about 13 and a half days total.
Wow.
So I say 13 and a half because it was really 12 days and then, or yeah, it was like 12 days and then 3 half days, something goofy like that. And we never went over 10 hours a day. So
Wow.
my DP cinematographer was like, I don't work more than 10 hours a day. I believe that's wrong to keep people that long, and everybody's working for free. So that was not going to happen. And there was like those half days were like between 4 and 5 hours. So it was a very quick shoot. Most of the scenes we only shot once. We just did one take and we kept going.
Did you have rehearsals?
We did 2 table reads, and that was basically it. And then while we were setting up, the actors would rehearse with one another while they were in hair and makeup and things like that. And as long as they didn't flub their lines or if it wasn't cringy, we just kept going, you know.
And
So
was this your first time directing?
yes, oh totally. And it was more there was a problem with such a small crew was I was also coordinating everything,
Ooh, you're
and I
producing
so
as well.
I was the line producer.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was running around with my head cut off. Then I would stop, yell action, and it would be done. And I would say, cut. Okay, let's keep going. What else do we need to do? And I would be running around again. So as long as like they didn't screw up anything, I was happy, and we just kept going. And fortunately, it came out amazing. I gotta say, like, and I'm not just saying this because it was my thing, because I would be honest. I it's I really feel like it's incredible. It's an incredible movie. So I was very happy. Also because we got such a strong actress as the main character. It wasn't like I had to coach her at all. Like she knew the character more than I did. She came to the first table read with 2 pages of backstory. I never wrote a backstory for anybody. She wrote a backstory for the character and how she related to all the other characters. She knew that character inside and out. So
What you bring up is such an interesting thing for writers because I think many screenwriters, when we start to pen a character, we have an idea of who they are and the backstory and all this.
yeah,
So sometimes I think there's a fine line between our creating the character as screenwriters and then leaving room for an actor to come in and really fill in
totally,
all the lines and fill in all the colors and the
totally.
detail and the yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I kind of look at any creative project I do with other people as extremely collaborative, and like look at it as more like a band. Because playing in a band for so long, I might write a song, but I would only write all the guitar parts, and I wouldn't tell anybody else how to write their parts. They would write their own parts and put it in there, and it would add so many more textures and layers that I wouldn't even think of. And so for me to add too much control like to
Yep.
the script, it ruins the other actors and the other people to put in their own creativity, you know.
I do know and I agree and I think that's one of the best things about or one of the most important things I feel about being a good director is trusting is casting, right? Because once you have the right
Yes,
cast, you don't really have to do much more.
you don't.
You
No, you
don't.
don't.
The
Yep.
actors are trained, they know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think I was reading somewhere where Steven Spielberg will he'll yell action and will not coach anyone for the first 3 takes, and then after that, if something's wrong, he'll coach them. But if not, if they got it, they got it, and they move on.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you just have to trust the actors. Being an artist, a visual artist, and doing freelance for so long, I would get these projects, and the writer or the publisher, or whoever's hiring me, would be so controlling that I end up would make garbage art. The art would be terrible because they're not giving me any control, and so the product would be terrible. They might like it, but it looks like garbage, compared to if they just gave me the control and let me do it, you know.
Absolutely. And I agree with you on that 110%. My God. I know I've been in situations on set where I do have an actor doing something that I know I'm not going to keep, that I know is
Right.
completely off. I need, and maybe it's because I'm an actor too, I need to allow them to get it out of their system. Get it
Yeah,
out. Do what you got to do, right? Now,
absolutely.
let's maybe try this. I feel the
Right.
same thing with gaffers as well. There are some setups that I have in some of my projects that I never would have even thought of or,
Yeah.
even planned. And you can have a gaffer saying, hey, why don't we try to put this kind of a gel here and see what
Right.
happens? Sure, let's see. I don't know,
Right.
I
Yes,
love that
exactly.
collaboration because every member of your crew knows what they're doing and they're all artists as well and they have ideas as well. That's only going to make your project better for them. It just will.
Absolutely. Well, and what I did I think it's all about preparation and then letting people do it. Like for my main actress, I gave her a couple movies to watch. I told her watch Carnival of Souls, watch Repulsion, and I think Miss 45. And I said check out those actresses, how they do it, something similar. And she watched those, and then she interpreted it her own way.
Yep.
And there was a few other actors where I gave them scenes from movies. I said, look out these scenes, this act, this character, and do your own interpretation. And so I did that. And also, like for the cinematography, I sent my cinematographer a whole bunch of different movies to watch, a whole bunch of different screenshots from movies. I said, this is what I want for this scene, this is what I want for this scene. And then he interpreted it his own way. So I just think that's all you need to do. And they'll add their input, and it'll be a collaboration, and it'll be the best way to do it.
I like that you
So.
said that because it just illustrates to me that you had such a vision.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely had everything mapped out, and I storyboarded the entire movie since that's what I did anyway. And that was another thing too, to keep everything on time and cost effective. We storyboarded every shot, and we never did a pickup shot. We didn't have any pickup shots because
Wow.
we had everything storyboarded, and I had my AD stand there with the storyboards out. We would do a shot. We'd do a shot, and she would circle it with a red marker. And by the time the end of the last day, we looked through the book and we had circled every shot, and it was done. We'd done everything, so we knew we had all the components we needed to tell the story. So we hadn't left out anything, you know.
All right. So I feel like there's a step three in this producing a feature film with a low budget. One, two, we did. Like, what was one?
Oh, what was one?
I know this
I
is good. This
wasn't
is
writing
good.
it down.
Okay, so the first step was writing a screenplay around the
Oh,
locations
around
that you've had.
locations. Yes.
The second
Yes.
part was the importance of lighting and a cinematographer,
Yeah.
and
The
invest in that. And then number three, preparation, preparation, preparation. I mean,
absolutely.
you were prepared to a T. You had storyboards. You had your literal visual setups of what you
Yeah.
wanted so the
Yeah.
AD could easily just look at it. Yep, got this shot. Move
Yeah.
on. That's
Absolutely.
perfect.
Well, and what was cool too, the wonder of social media was I made a Facebook page, private Facebook page for the cast and crew, and everybody joined it. And then if I had all my cinematography notes, I just posted it on the Facebook page. He could access it any time. All the wardrobe notes, like because each character, I had made like a collage of images of wardrobe, and I posted that on the Facebook page. And then also what we did was after the every day of shooting, we would take a still of every scene, and we'd post that on the private Facebook page. So we could go back every day, just anybody could pull up their phone and look at all the notes, and like what we did the day before, and everything. and they'd
That's
have it right on
wonderful
the phone.
because then the costume designer can see what you're telling the cinematographer, and the
Right.
cinematographer can tell. That sets everybody up. Give expectations, right? So then
Yeah.
everyone's on the same page and understands exactly what's happening. And visually, I think that's a very powerful way of doing it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I just preparation is what it's all about. That's the name of the game, especially on a low budget. You know.
What do you love the most about being a director?
Oh, I I think creating the world that I'm making. So all the front end stuff, writing the script, getting the wardrobes together, creating the cinematography look and the all the shots and all the storyboards, all that front end preparation. It's amazing because it's like you're preparing for a wedding and you're getting all excited for this, and that's incredible. The actual filming is insane. It's like
Yep.
it's like you're in the middle of the wedding where
Yeah.
like after I got married, I don't remember my wedding at all
So
because
true.
it's such a blur.
It's a blur.
And that's
Yeah.
that's the way filming is. It's a complete blur. And then editing is after the honeymoon and you actually have to live with it. Editing
That's a great
editing
analogy.
it's so grueling. It's
Whew.
it's like you are now pregnant and you have to like push this baby out. And
Yeah.
it's a grueling process because me and my editor, basically Joseph Estrade, we sat down and I just sat there next to him while he edited,
Yep.
and I gave him ideas, and we went back and forth with ideas, and so that was such a grueling process. And what I did, talking about editing real quick, one thing I did was, for so many scenes we wanted to we my editor has done a lot of music videos, so he wanted to edit with music, and so we decided to find the music that would be appropriate that we could actually use before we actually would edit a scene. So I found a website called freemusicarchive.org, and they have plenty of music that's either public domain or like literally like 20,000 songs, something crazy, or that is Creative Commons Zero or something like that. And so I listened to like 4 or 5 thousand songs. I like spent a couple weeks just listening to music, and I didn't listen to the whole songs. I would listen to like 10 seconds and move on to the next song until I found about 200 songs. And then like a scene would come up that we wanted to edit with music, and I would send my editor like 3 songs, and he would like figure out the right one that would work. And so I think preparation with music, especially with micro budget film, I see so many micro budget films that are light on music because music can be expensive,
Yep. Yep.
or that you need to hire somebody to actually make the music, or they're making the music themselves or whatever. And so, nowadays what you hear is a lot of keyboard music that's maybe like sounds like Stranger Things or something because they know that they can just get a little cheesy keyboard and they can make some music, which is fine. But everything sounds the same right now. Like everything's starting to sound the same. So we wanted to sound different than what's everything that's out there. And we wanted to stand out in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of movies have a lot of, especially low budget films, have a lot of establishing shots because we need to fill up that time. And they have a lot of drone shots because it's the thing that's cheap right now. And my cinematographer is a drone cinematographer. And I wanted to do a lot of drones and a lot of establishing. And he said, I don't think this is the movie for this. Like, I think we need to be different than everyone else. And so we have we have minimal establishing shots, like very little at all. And we also tried to find music that not everybody else was doing. So there's a lot of jazz, there's a lot of experimental, there's a lot of almost like noise in there that we're using for music. I'm taking like cues from like 60s and 70s movies, a lot. and so everyone's kind of taking cues from 80s right now. And I think it's also my age. I'm 40, so like the 80s to me is like terrible. Like it's not like a good thing, and everybody loves it, which is fine. I'm just saying, like I'm kind of still in love with the 60s and 70s, so like that's kind of my go-to. And so it was great to find a website that I could just dig through and pull apart and find all these cool musicians that were giving away their stuff to use creatively.
What
And
was
then
that website called again for those listening?
freemusicarchive.org.
freemusicarchive.org. That's awesome. And it's also interesting because you said that you yourself play music. So
Yes,
I was going to ask, did you do the music for the film? So that's
I
interesting
I
that.
did I did do a I ended up contributing about 15 or 16 songs. There ends I think there's like 44 pieces of music in the movie. It's a very music heavy film, because my cinematographers like did music videos, but also I wanted it to be music heavy, and
Yeah.
also it's a wide variety of different music. Because one thing I told the guys from the very beginning, cast and crew, I said I want this movie to feel like a mixtape, but like a mixtape from someone who's got schizophrenia. So it's very like all over the place. It's got jazz, but then it'll go into noise, but then it'll go into classical, and it'll go into just it's going all over the place because the main character is having this weird nervous breakdown, and you almost kind of feel like, is she schizophrenic? So I wanted it to feel very schizophrenic.
You are very clear in what you want in with your vision of, visually, audially, acting wise, everything. I
Yeah.
love that. You're very, very clear. Let me ask you this though, Joe. In making this project, what was the most challenging thing that you had to deal with? What was the hardest part about it?
Oh, right now is the hardest part. Like
Oh boy, I feel that. Whew.
right now, I've submitted to about 80 festivals,
Ah,
and I feel like they're probably not watching the films. I I have I've only been turned down by like 4 or 5 so far, because a lot of them I submitted to were in October. Because one thing I had not figured out is exactly what the rules of film festival are. Because when I first started submitting, I thought, oh, this needs to be a world premiere at a big festival, and so I can only submit to this, and then I have to submit to everything smaller after that. And I was very freaked out by like how all this worked. And I would ask my filmmaker friends, and everyone was giving me different answers on how like film festivals worked and so it took me a while to just say, you know what, I'm just submitting to everywhere. I don't care. This needs to be given birth and get out there. And then seeing like I had submitted to a local festival but it's still a big festival, and I didn't get in, but I decided to go to it and check out the movies, and I was very disappointed, like because I basically figured out that, oh, it's just celebrities and also just like friends of the festival
all
that are
right,
getting
so
in.
this is something that I would love to just kind of pause and have a conversation about, because this is
Yes.
something I'm learning too. And I will tell you, with my first short film, I submitted to maybe about 20 film festivals, and
Right.
I was devastated with all the rejection letters and
Yeah.
almost stopped submitting. But thank
Right.
God our co-producer Brianna Brown said, "No, let's keep submitting."
Yeah.
Long story short, by the end, we've gotten handfuls of accolades. We got into over
Nice.
30 film festivals, right?
Nice.
Got it.
Yeah.
So then with my second short film, I already had sort of a track record with my
Right.
previous one, so we were able to get accolades for that one as well. So
Right.
now, like you, I'm submitting to film festivals with my first feature film, and I've
Yeah.
got to say, this is such a different experience.
It's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh, it is
It's crazy.
nuts.
Well, you'll see these short films that are getting into Sundance, and
Yep.
you're like, oh, that short film kind of sucks. Like, I know my feature film, it's a shoe in, and then feature films are a total different ball game, because basically, all right, so the big part of the pie is celebrities,
Yep.
and a big part of the pie is already have an established relationship with that festival. So you
Exactly.
have a sliver of
Yep.
these blind submissions that get into all these festivals. And and then you just think, are they even watching these things? And so
Yep.
it's like, oh, I'm just giving you money to help fund your festival is what you what you're telling me.
And you know what? A part of this is true. A few years ago, I did it for 2 years. For Action on Film Festival Women in Film. So I curated
Right.
that program and I watched films. And for me, because there were so many submissions, I would kind of know within the first couple of minutes whether I was going to continue watching.
Right,
So
sure.
because I didn't have
And
time to watch all
and
these
that
films.
doesn't bother me at all. That
Yeah.
doesn't bother me at all. I think it's more like this idea that you just think are like I just feel like they're basically just they might they're putting in the celebrities, the friends and everything, and so there's just such a tiny amount that they're really getting in from these blind submissions.
And
And
also
it's
with these blind submissions, they're getting thousands and
right,
thousands.
right. Oh, it's insane. It's insane. And so it's just disheartening, and it's only made me like submit to more and be more like bullheaded,
Yep.
but it's also kind of driving me crazy because I get more and more bullheaded, I get more and more obsessive. And so I'm literally like emailing people all the time, like just promoting the crap out of this thing all the time.
When you're
And
emailing
so
people, are you emailing the festivals? Who are you emailing?
I'm emailing the festivals. So what I did was I spent a bunch of money like submitting to all these festivals. And so now I'm like, man, I can't keep spending. I'm going to be like
Yeah.
spending myself broke.
Yeah.
So now the second phase is now I'm just emailing them saying, "Hey, I would love to be in your festival. I'm out of money. Can you do me a waiver?" And I've actually gotten a lot of like good results that way. I was really surprised. And actually they're actually watching the trailer and going, "Wow, this actually looks interesting." And it seems like it's a better way to go, which is goofy because they're finding it interesting and then inviting me to actually submit. So that's where I'm at right now. And
That's
also,
interesting. That's interesting. Before you go to your next point, just
go
so
ahead.
I and the listeners understand. So, in this process, right now, what you've been doing is reaching out to the festival saying, "Hey, I love your festival. I would love to submit, but I'm out of money. Is there any
Yes.
way that you can offer a waiver?" And then they say what?
Well, when I say that, and I also say, "Here's my trailer. Check it out and see if you're interested." And they're all watching my trailer, so I'm giving them a little taste. And then about 25% of them are emailing back saying, "This looks really interesting. Here, you can submit for free." And so now I know they're watching the film, and so it's a whole different ballgame.
This is
They're actually seeing it more
wonderful.
interesting.
Wonderful.
So
I want to
yeah,
keep tabs on you and see where this goes 2, 3 months from
yeah,
now, the sort of traction you get. I think that's wonderful. Another thing that I noticed too, I think very often once you get into one film festival, then
yeah,
it starts. Then it
yeah. It's
starts.
That's very true, exactly. And one thing I've been doing over the last couple weeks as well is I'm kind of bypassing festivals and just emailing every review site on the internet and saying, like, review my movie. I'll send you the screener link. You can review it. Because so many times you're like, I got to get in festivals so people can review my movie, right? Well, and also what I did was on Facebook, I said, any reviewer friends, if you want to review my movie, I'll send you a screener link. And I'm actually have quite a few big websites. They haven't published it yet, but the reviewers have already said, I've watched the movie, I'm writing a review, or I've written a review, I've already submitted to some of these big websites, and and it should be published within the next couple of weeks. And those are, like websites that have 300,000, likes on Facebook, or 1 million likes on Facebook, like fairly big websites. And so just bypassing festivals for the review portion, just submitting it straight to the websites.
That's wonderful. And then what will you do with these reviews?
Well, that will just gain more buzz. I'll be able to put it on my website for the movie. I'll be able to put it into
Press kit.
the press kit, exactly, all that sort of stuff. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. I love just hearing different ideas. What kind of websites are you reaching out to? That's very interesting to me.
well, so my movie's a genre film,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a micro budget film, and so I'm able to reach out to sci-fi review sites. I'm able to reach out to horror review sites. I'm able to reach out to like nerd geek sites, but also just reaching out to I'm just looking up movie bloggers. I'm looking up independent movie bloggers. I'm looking up YouTube review, vloggers, video loggers, and just emailing it. I mean, it can be somebody who has 1 million views to somebody who has 30 views.
Yeah.
You just stack it in. If you get 1,000 people and they all have 100 views, that's 100,000 people that have watched your movie.
I am
Or
so
watched your review.
I'm so glad we're talking about this because honestly, and especially making a low budget film and just really grinding for years sometime and getting through post production finally, and
Yeah,
the thing is finally done. This is the part where it's so easy to drop the ball because at this
yeah,
point we're freaking exhausted, right?
yeah. Exactly,
And this
exactly.
is the most important part is getting
It
our
is.
film out there.
Yep, exactly. You know, um, I had some sales agents
Hmm.
like approach me, and I just don't trust them. I think mainly because they have 1 million other projects they're working on. They're just putting yours in another hat to throw out there.
Literally.
And yeah, and I haven't had one sales agent say, "Man, I watched the movie. It blew my fucking mind, and I wanna make this my baby." Like I haven't had that.
Yeah.
You know, I
They're
I've
saying
had
that
a
it's a
bunch of
genre film. Genre
yeah,
films sell. That's what they're saying.
right, right. But what I get, this is what I get is,
Hmm.
so movie's all right, and you don't have any celebrities,
Hmm.
and they're like there's no it's not really that sellable because it's weird. It's a genre film, but
It's artsy.
it's an art house
Yes,
film.
it is. Just
And so they're like it's an art house film with no celebrities. I don't think I'm going to be able to sell it, but you know, I'll put it on there. We can split the profits. I'm like, why? Why am I giving my baby to you? And also because I know I can basically do the same thing as you. If I have plenty of time and I need to obsess over something because I have an obsessive personality. So why not just do what you're doing and I don't have to give you any money for it?
sometimes I think that's what it takes is an obsessive personality, and it's so interesting. Something that you and I spoke before we started recording was about technology today, right? And how available. There's so many things available, literally at our fingertips, where we can
Yeah.
self-distribute our own projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a distributor contact me and say, "Hey, give me." This is what they're saying to me: "Give us $10,000, and we will distribute your film, and we'll split profits with you." And I'm thinking to myself, I can take $10,000
Hmm.
and do more with the film than you'll do, because that'll be the one film I'm working on instead of you putting in your 1,000 film catalog and it just getting lost. Like that's insane to me. So it's like, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Ah, this is so nuts. One of the reasons I love doing Indie Film Tribe, and this always happens with almost every conversation, I always end up learning and being on the same page as whoever I'm talking to. It's the most
Yeah,
amazing thing. Like I don't
yeah,
know you from before
right.
today. You know what I mean? We literally just met, and
Yep,
everything we're talking about, I'm complete alignment with. I completely understand and need to hear this for myself. So that's a
yeah,
great thing because I know if I need to hear this, then there's other people listening that need to hear this and will learn from this as well.
yep,
Distribution is a huge thing, and one of the things that I'm kind of recognizing for myself right now, Joe, is that yes, I want my film out there,
Right.
Yes, I know I can self distribute, but see, do I have the time, energy, and money to do it myself? I know it's doable, but I also
Yeah.
know it's going to be a full time job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
Totally.
truth.
It will be absolutely a full-time job. Um, I would, if I could take a time travel trip and go back, I would say, Joe, save up another 5,000
Hmm.
and hire a celebrity for one day and get them in the film to where they might only be in there for 10 minutes, but have it spattered throughout the film to where it seems like they're in the movie the entire time. Write a script like that, where you stick them in there, and I would have already sold the film. It would be in a ton of festivals just from that one thing, you know. But you live, you learn. But next time, I'm sticking to next movie. We'll definitely have a celebrity.
And this is what I just so love about what you've done. This is your first feature film. You wrote it, you directed it. You're now trying to get it into a film festival. You're learning about distribution. You're trying to figure out ways how to distribute, and you're
Right.
already you know some lessons for your next film. And I think that's
Yeah.
the best way to learn. Did you go to film school?
No.
Neither did
Uh,
I. Yeah.
no. Nothing at all. I mean, the most I've learned was doing storyboards and sitting down with directors doing storyboards, but you still don't learn that much. But a lot of it's just like, after reading so many articles
Mhm.
on how to make a film, how to make a low budget film, most of them don't tell you anything.
No.
And they really don't tell you much. Or they say everyone says the same information or very vague,
Yeah, good
weird.
sound, good sound. Make sure you
Yeah.
get good sound, you know? You
Yeah,
can
and very weird, vague information like be passionate or, you know, or like
You
just
think?
strange information like that. And like, and so I learned that, okay, I just need to be instinctual. I know that I've done
Yes.
storyboards. I used to be a youth pastor for a long time.
Wow.
And in that time, we did vacation Bible schools. We did all sorts of different preparation for parties and all sorts of stupid shit. And um, I learned all sorts of like organizational skills and
I'm
also
so
like
sorry. I
how
just have to pause. I love how you said youth pastor and stupid shit in the same sentence. Continue. Please continue.
no problem. Oh, that was a lifetime ago. But I learned all sorts of valuable things, like because we did plays, we did all sorts of things,
Ah.
and so learned how to like construct whole themed worlds out of like just cardboard and stuff, things like that. And so I just basically took my years of just experience and just said, "Oh, I can do this." Like literally literally making a movie is taking a notebook, writing a list, and crossing the things off that list. That's all you really need to know. That's it. It's like doing anything else. Oh, okay, my list is get the DP, get the sound guy, get the actor, get the actress, get the lighting guy. Okay, all those are crossed. Now what's the next step? Oh, get locations, get this location, get that location. And what's the next step? And it's that simple. It's making lists and crossing things off the list. It's that simple. It's not really that difficult if you just break everything down. You know, that's it. Like the crazy thing is I did the wardrobe, I did all the locations, most of the location scouting. I did all the food, and like
Wait, what? Wait, back up, back up, back up. What do you mean you did all the food?
so
What you talking about, Joe?
my
What?
my mom and sister were going to help do the food, and they started to, and it was just a little too insane, like cooking everything. And so I decided this we need to make it simpler, make everything more streamlined. So my sister had a van. My brother-in-law does movie cars, which was great because we were able to get all the picture cars for the movie through him. But so he gave me a van that I could use for the time, and that van became the mobile office. And I did all the props, I did all the wardrobe, all the food, and so every day, so we did 2 or 3 days a week, right? So the day before, we would load up the van with all the props we needed, all the wardrobe we needed, and then driving to the set, before I would go to the set, I went to the local grocery store, and it was one of those like high-end grocery stores where you walk in, they have pizzas fully cooked, they have trays of sandwiches, they have sushi, they have like everything's there for catering. So I'd walk in, just buy all the trays of things that were like already fully made, that were all finger food, and then all the drinks and the ice, and just bring it to set and set it all up on tables, and there you go. There's no cooking required. There was, and so I was wearing a lot of hats. So it
Ooh.
was just all a matter of like writing those lists for the day before, saying we got to do all these things for the next day and doing them, you know.
All right. Before we head off here, I want to bring up the budget, right? You mentioned that you didn't pay people, right?
Right. Right.
You mentioned that the locations were pretty inexpensive.
Yes, I did end up paying our main actress a little bit of money because she
Okay.
had to be there every day.
Okay.
But that's kind of the way I formulated the script. Was I knew one person had to be there every day, so I needed to give her some money for
Something.
incentive. Yes, but everybody else only had to be there a day or two. And if somebody only has to be there a day or two, it's not hard for them.
What about your crew?
I do it
You
for free.
mentioned your DP wanted to do it because he wanted to do a feature, right?
Yes, yes.
So
So
he was cool.
we worked out like back end deal whenever we
Great.
finally actually sell the movie. And everybody else on the crew kind of floated in and out. Like no one else was there every day, and they were all friends of the DP. So, and we had a very small skeleton crew. Basically, we had a boom op mic, operator, who also like just kind of mixed from his hip recording. So there was no sound mixer, and we had an assistant who kind of did everything else. Did maybe assistant camera and also helped with lighting, and that was basically it. It was like a three-man crew, three to four sometimes.
What did you spend the majority of the budget on? What was your biggest cost?
Food.
Yeah, always, yeah. Yeah.
Spent about $4,000 on food. It
Yeah.
ended up being about $300 a day,
And I
and
think it's worth it when people are
it
working for
is.
free to pay people to give people sushi like you did and like
Yeah,
great great finger foods it sounds like you were
yeah.
able to do.
We did. I basically did breakfast and lunch slash dinner every day.
Mhm.
So like we had donuts and muffins and yogurt and coffee and juices for a breakfast kind of thing, and then we had sushi, pizza, sandwiches, grape leaves, hummus with something to
Yeah.
dip in, and then, and then Cokes and coffee and Gatorades. And so that was pretty much every time on set. I think we were all sick of pizza and sushi by the end of the shoot, but it felt like a treat. And it's still $4,000 is way less than paying everyone,
Of
to
course.
be on set. Way less. So
Gosh, Joe, I just want to take a moment for to acknowledge you on your precision. You seem to be just very precise and very clear on your vision, and I thank you so much for really sharing that with us and helping us sort
yeah,
of
thank you.
paint a picture of exactly what steps you took. And I
Yeah,
love the way you just kind of simplified everything. So thank you so much for that.
yeah.
For people that are listening, whether they're living in Atlanta or Louisiana or California and are thinking about making their first feature film, low budget film, what would you say? What can you say to that?
I would say a couple things. Don't be a perfectionist, because even though I prepare a lot, I am not a micromanager, and I'm not a perfectionist. You know, just get it done. Like, cross everything off your list. Make sure that you have the wardrobe you need, the food you need, all those things. But it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, like I had made all the collages for every person's wardrobe, but it wasn't exactly what we ended up doing. But we did it as close as we could. The cinematography wasn't exactly all the time what I wanted, but we did, like, for instance, um, working so fast, there was a lot of overhead shots of my main character laying in bed. Where you would have like create some sort of a crane over
A
the
high angle
character.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like bird's eye view sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And we ended up barely having any time. So my cinematographer, Daniel, just jumped on top of the bed, held the camera up, and shot it as high as he could. And it looked great. And also there was a ton of shots in these storyboards that were supposed to be on dollies, pushing very slowly in. And we didn't have a dolly. We didn't have the time to get a dolly together. So we were shooting on 4K. So we shot the shot static, and then we digitally did push-ins, and that's what we could do, and it ended up looking fantastic. So it's just a matter of using what you have, not uh, don't overcomplicate things. Make it simple, and if you make it simple, you can end up doing a lot more than trying to micromanage everything. You'll do a lot less micromanaging and being a perfectionist. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. I would love for us to, I don't know, maybe talk again in a
yeah,
couple of months because I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to sort of use your experience with this film festival submissions as sort of a
yes,
case study to look at
yeah,
what you started doing and now you're trying a new tactic, see what
yep.
happens here, and maybe there'll be another tactic along the line and just sort of follow you to distribution. I would love to do that.
I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah, most of the fests that I submitted to are in October. Would love to talk to you maybe December or January.
Yep.
That
Yep.
would be really cool.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Joe, for your time today. This has just been awesome. And thank you, Indie Film Tribe, for hanging out with Joe and I today. Um,
yeah.
right
Thank you so
before,
much for
oh
having me.
gosh, yes, of course. Before we head out, though, Joe, where can people find you, learn about your work? Is there a website we can go to?
Absolutely. Well, you can go to the movie's website, thegodinsidemyear.com. And also, you can go on Facebook, look up The God Inside My Ear. Also, look up me, Joe Badon, JoeBadon. I have a blog spot, joebadon.blogspot.com. Most of that's just my artwork, but you can check out my artwork as well, which is always fun. So, yeah, friend me, follow me, find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Just look up my name.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe Badon, and thank you, Indie Film Tribe, for hanging out again today. Until next time, bye.